Hey there, welcome to The Dutch Skipper. I'm Michael, and this year, in August, I bought a boat. I don't have a ton of experience being on boats, aside from being at the Dutch Lifeguard Society, but owning a boat, that's different. I was able to take the boat out twice, once from taking delivery, and then second time for just a few hours. But after that, I discovered a leak. The boat had a leak at one of the oil rings, and this has prompted a pretty serious maintenance run of about 4 weeks. I had to figure out how to take the engine apart, the engine being an old, that is a 1971 Volvo Penta MD21a. I had to take it apart, and some of the parts, after years, potentially decades of being in their place, didn't really take to wanting to separate with their equals. So at this point, there was a lot of working required, a lot of frustration was involved, and a lot of cleaning was done. I decided to put everything back together, test if everything works. Of course, at some point it didn't. And then over the past 4 weeks, I was able to put the whole thing back together, and finally got a working boat. Now, she's not fully healed yet. I'm still leaking a little bit of coolant material. I'm still leaking a little bit of water from the coolant system. But overall, the boat works. And I was very eager to take it out on this final, beautiful summery day of what most likely will be the season. So here are some of the highlights. Finally, I get to show you the boat in action. When I say boat, what are we looking at? You're looking at a Saga 27AK, or AC in English. AC standing for aft cabin. This is the boat that I specifically picked for my family because we have 2 small children, and I want to take this thing out with my family on trips. And that aft cabin, that is going to be fantastic for the kids to sleep, so that we don't have to sacrifice most of our own cabin, so to speak, as the kids go to bed earlier, of course. Regarding dimensions, the boat is 27 foot long, so hence the Saga 27. She's about 9 feet wide, and she has a draft of, I think, only 3 feet, about 80 to 90 centimeters, depending on how much you load it. This means she has a really low draft, which is quite handy. As I currently don't really have a mast beyond one that's currently holding up the navigation light, she also has a very low overall height. This is going to allow for bridge crossings to be much easier.
We finally got underway again. First things first, I'm at a bilge drain station. This is the large suction thing. You can just see the amount of water down there is fairly serious. So here it goes.
As it is illegal to toss your, well, very dirty bilge water most of the time overboard, we have a couple of these suction stations, these bilge drain stations, and this is a double one. So I first drained the bilge, and then I drained our septic tank, because that too had some contents. The beauty of it is, all of this gets then filtered, sorted, and made sure it doesn't actually pollute the environment. This station right now is, I think, 5 minutes sail away from the harbor that we currently reside in. Very convenient. Very convenient. You only pay €1 in order to have both of those things get sucked dry. Very convenient. And after that, it was time to head back out. We started out here in the town of Brielle. This is also at Brielse Meer. That's the lake we're currently at. Brielle, as you might have been able to see, is a bit of a star fortress, or it used to be, and which is also why it still has some of the remnant cannons, part of the defensive works of the city. Some of the things that make this particular Saga a bit unique are the railing and these pillows on the bow. Most of the boats I've seen don't have these, especially the railing seems to be entirely custom made, and these pillows out in front are really nice to have. When you're sailing around, they're very comfy to sit on. They come off in 3 pieces, so you can easily detach them and store them somewhere. Over on the stern, as you can see here, we also have a bunch of pillows, which I had put up on the stern for now, but they're actually part of all the sittings that you have on the main, well, let's say the main compartment, the main midships, which is where most of the stuff happens. It's where you sit, or as I currently am standing, to navigate. It's where you can make some food, And it's also where you could just have a nice relaxing lounge. The engine's performance, I gotta say, was really good. I was getting a steady, I think, depending on, of course, what your desired speed is, around 800 RPM to about 2000. One of my friends said it's a bit slow, considering that, especially in neutral, so when you're not engaging the prop, the boat's engine can do up to like 3,500 to 4,000 RPM. At, well, when driving the boat, so when getting the propulsion going, I don't think she can actually quite do that. So maybe the prop is too big, but that's something I don't really have too much knowledge on yet. I might look into that at some point. Now, a quick look around the boat. Over here we have the front cabin. As you can see, the table there can serve as a table, but you can also lower it and put some additional pillows on, and you got a big bed. Here is the kitchenette, if you want to call it that. We even have a fridge, but I'm not sure if that's working. And over there is the aft cabin with its own little door, and the tent that's currently covering the main compartment is down to allow for some sunshine. As we got to some calmer water, it was time for some, well, I guess in a boating video, obligatory drone shots. Launching the drone? Pretty easy. It was just take off and go. In case you're wondering, I have a Mavic 3 Pro. That's the triple lens camera drone from DJI. Launching it, that was the easy bit. Getting it back aboard? That was something quite different. Because of course the boat's moving, and a drone wants to have a steady platform to land on. So that resulted in some challenge like this. The problem here that I had was the boat was rotating, so the boat was slowly drifting. And the drone really doesn't like that. It wants to have a solid place to land. Now, you can hand grab it, which is what I'm going to go for. So that means you're going to grab the body of the drone and either flip the whole thing over, which will immediately suspend the motors, or keep the down throttle down and the engines will eventually spin out. But as the boat was now reversing, and my wife is still learning how to operate the boat, we were still reversing, and that meant the drone, hovering steady, was still being moved away from the boat. Bit of coordination going on. Now she put him in forward throttle, and get down, get down. Nope, still won't come down. Trying to land it once again on the pillows. This is very handy. Almost slammed into the bow there. And heavily focusing. Also all the more motivated because of having, I think, about 25% battery left. And there you go. Got it. And after a bit of throttle down, it surrendered. So. The weather during the whole trip was really beautiful. There was almost no wind, which is something I was really hoping for. Because docking the boat is something that we're still struggling with. Over here you can see Max, my youngest, currently age 3. He's doing all sorts of weird stuff all the time. He really is the clown of the family. I'm not sure what that is about the youngest child, maybe the second child, but they tend to do weird stuff. As for the boat, as you can see here, it is not a planing boat. This is, I think, a semi-displacer is what they call it. And that means that the top speed's around 13 kilometers per hour. Makes for a very comfortable sail, but it's not going to do any tubing. It's not going to do any water skiing, anything like that. Maybe if you put a heftier engine in it, she's going to be able to do it. But of course, your fuel economy is going to be less than great. This here is one of the best parts of the lake. There are a couple of islands where you can moor, and there's even a playground over to our starboard side. So over here we decided to take up a mooring, try to get some rest, maybe get the kids to lay down for a bit. After a bit of motoring back and forth across the lake here, we finally moored the boat. And just, this spot is gorgeous. I mean, look at it. We got the boat here, and this is across, well, a very small canal from a small playground over there where you can also see the beach. Right now, because it's almost October, it's actually pretty quiet. But normally, there's a lot of people. I've seen a lot of boats moored there. The 2 times that we actually sailed. And this is just... it's so peaceful.
Now, I'm colorblind, which makes this a bit awkward at times, but people say that all the trees around here are pretty beautiful, so let's have a look. I'm really happy to be out back on the water because the boat was turning into a bit of a floating workshop. A project that felt endless and something that I was wondering, is this ever going to move again? Kept at it, kept going, and now we're here on what is, well, at least for the next couple of weeks, one of the most beautiful days of the year. It's about, I think, 20 degrees Celsius right now, and it's just undisturbed nature, mostly. I mean, we're not the first ones who arrive here, and I'm walking on some sort of a trail. But it's a small island here. Nobody lives here. The only way to get here is by boat. The only way to briefly visit is by boat. Not a house, nothing. Just nature and peace and quiet. And ironically, once you've sailed quite a bit, this is fantastic. Just having this quiet, this nothingness. It's one of the things that I was most surprised about when going out there with a boat, because people said when you're out on a boat, it's extremely relaxing, because in little to no time you're out in nature. You get this sort of vacation feeling. And now I really know what they mean. Just look at that. That's where the trail's going to take me. That's where the trail's going to take me. Now, I am most of the time working from home as a content creator. I make YouTube videos mostly on gaming. Some of you might know me from that. And just going out here, even on this small lake that I picked as our starting spot, because we're really inexperienced when it comes to boating. Just exploring new spots like this. And I can easily see this becoming one of my favorite spots to visit. Just take the boat out, go out there, and check out. Hold on, this is curious. That's a wastewater unit. Curious. Why the hell would I have sewage over here? Don't know. I'm going to enjoy this a bit more.
Unfortunately, the kids were a bit restless. I get it. It's new to everybody. This is the third time taking the boat out. That means that we're all still trying to get a bit of a rhythm, I suppose. We don't really know what to do yet. The kids are still figuring out parts of the boat, and they don't seem to quite get the rest. They don't have the peace and quiet to just focus on one activity. They're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth instead of just, you know, browsing a book or playing with their cars or making a puzzle or something like that. So, as much as we were hoping that they would take a nap, no, sadly no such thing. So, reversing out of the dock here, and when reversing, something that I'm learning more and more about this boat is that I have a left turning prop. So the prop is turning towards the port side of the boat, and that means that if you're reversing, the wheel effect comes into play because the prop starts turning the right way, so right hand side or clockwise, which means that the stern is going to try and pull towards the starboard side. This is something that, especially when mooring, is going to become a lot more interesting. It's going to involve knowing how to use that effect to try and get the boat moored. But more on that in a second. The rest of the trip was equally beautiful. Over here you can see Quinn enjoying the view from the bow. Quinn really enjoys just sailing the boat, just going places. He doesn't necessarily seem to want to go to any particular place, but just moving around is what he really enjoys. At the moment, we're still trying to figure out what the best mix for all of us is between motoring and then mooring, going to, for example, a playground, or mooring at a restaurant to get some ice cream. Stuff like that. It's all part of the rhythm of the boat. Part of the rhythm of, well, not so much the boat really, but the crew. Over where Quinn is sitting, we also have a escape hatch slash access hatch towards the main cabin. And he is very adept at using that to very quickly get in and out of the bow of the boat, which is also his main way of accessing the part where the pillows are. This is much safer, at least according to us, rather than going on one of the sidewalks of the boat. It's definitely safer when the boat, such as mine, has a railing. But still, if they slip, I really do not want them to get into the water. So right now the rule is either the kids get escorted through the gangway by either my wife or I, or they get to use the hatch on the bow, climb outside, and then get seated on one of the pillows. After a really nice day on the water, it was time to go back to the marina. This involved a bit of back and forth, as I'm still learning to maneuver the boat properly. I'm still learning to use that wheel effect, as it's known, so that's when reversing, the boat is going to have her stern sort of walk towards the starboard. It's not that the bow goes towards the port, no, the stern moves, so the stern moves towards the starboard side. This is very important when mooring, because it means that the boat doesn't really want to go straight back. She always wants to go like straight and then turn around towards right. That is rather challenging, because if you're used to driving a car, basically you can forward into one parking space and then straightly reverse in. With a boat, it just doesn't work quite the same way. And as a parking space typically is empty, aside from potentially other cars, of course over here you got other boats, and you have the mooring poles, which is something you don't really want to hit. So getting back into our own slip was a bit of back and forth. This is a part that I really want to film with the drone at some point, because it's going to make it far easier to illustrate what I'm doing, as well as how I can improve. Figuring out, oh, okay, I should have turned this way, I should have had my rudder that way, I should have reversed the boat at that point. Because essentially what you gotta do is, when you have the slip, you gotta sail past it, you gotta turn slightly away from it, and then you can sort of reverse into it. Because especially with that wheel effect, if your stern starts to walk out to the starboard side, out to the right side, reversing can be a little challenging. But hey, we got it done, and the boat is back safely in her slip. Regarding future plans, there's still a ton that I want to do about the boat. There's a whole instrument panel that I currently don't really like. There's a plotter on there that I would like to replace. The Marathon that I have is currently set to the wrong ATIS code. This is basically your, let's say, your naval identification code. And in order to have that reprogrammed, you're going to be down like, I think, $100 or so. Plus, I have to have a new package of, I think, channels or something like that. There's a new EU regulation for that, which is also going to be a little bit of money. So replacing the whole unit, as surprisingly as is cheaper than trying to reprogram this one. On top of that, the antenna got cracked during the buying or during the offloading of the boat from the trailer. And the seller, being a bit of a dick, was not willing to replace that or not willing to recoup the costs for that for me. So there's a lot that I need to replace. I want to install a couple of new chargers. The boat is set to a 12-volt network, and this is going to allow you to set various devices to 12 volts. But right now I only have, I think, 2 working 12-volt ports, so that's something I want to work on. Those new chargers are going to arrive today. There's a new battery waiting for me at the Lifeboat Society. They have a couple of spares that they're not using. Those are, I think, discarded from lifeboats after a couple of years, and that means that I am allowed to use one of those because they're no longer suitable for lifeboat usage. So I have a new battery, which is going to be a whole separate chapter. I think with this boat, there's a couple dozen hours of work still ahead of me. That is, of course, entirely optional, because the thing works, the thing sails, the thing still has a bit of a leak. That is ideally priority number 1. But right now, she works, and she works quite well. Thank you for coming along on this first, well, pretty much real journey. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I shall see you back here soon for the next part.